something's gone wrong, something's got lost, and this mask is just burying us further and further, digging further and further in fear, a fear of death, a fear of the truth of our own health, a fear of a disconnect from God, some unfulfillment we have that we blame on this chance happening that we might get sick because of someone else, this blame culture and this shame fetish that exists where it's your fault that I might get sick because you're not wearing a mask, rather than empowering ourselves and taking responsibility. Maybe I just need to surrender to it, just allow what's happening, trust in the process. I'm totally get that as like a train of thought, as maybe that's what I should do. I should just get on with my life, wear the mask in the shop, and just, easy life. Don't fight this, what's going on.
Tim Sheef is a hero in my book. When I saw this, I was like, wow, this is great. This is great. What a brilliant idea. How did I not think of this? But yeah, I didn't know, but Tim, he's done a lot of kind of silly stuff in the past, walking on a handstand on a date and on a train and walking a dog on a handstand, all these sorts of things. So this is sort of like up his alley, so to speak. Now, he uploaded a video after this that I will link. He said a lot of great things in that. So, yeah, I'd suggest you watch that as well. But, yeah, this protester that was in the background, that was just by chance. They got there and saw this man, protesting the mask. He was speaking about Jesus as well. But he was saying that, we're preventing oxygen from getting into our body, and that these surgical masks were not made for this. There's no study that shows that they're actually helping. So they were made to prevent the splatter, We know this. So I should just point this out again, and I have in the past, that any doctor or person or news station that is telling you the science does show that this is helpful. You're helping other people by, you're preventing that cough, that cloud of talking or whatever, assuming that these micro droplets, then that's where all the viral particles are. And so it's a big assumption, because when they tell you this, they're not referencing the actual studies that used masks. They are referencing the studies that showed that we talk in these clouds, and that, we have these microparticles coming out of our mouth. Okay, yeah, we know that. We cough them, we breathe them. We already knew that. So then you have to assume on top of that, these masks will help that somewhat. It's a huge assumption. And then to force the public to then comply with this, disregarding everything else, disregarding the oxygen deprivation and, any increase in sickness this may cause by, you're touching your face, you're causing more moisture and whatnot to breed in that area. So, yeah, I just wanted to point this out, because we're walking around and everyone is just complying with this. And he made a really good point about how he wanted to just get along easier. He thought for a moment, maybe I can just comply for a little while. And that someone the other day just told me this, someone that hasn't been complying this entire time, told me, they've decided to just be respectful and go ahead and wear the mask. Because here in Kentucky, our governor has mandated that we all wear them in public, unless you're outside, unless you're a child, unless you have breathing issues, medical issues. But because of this, everyone is just complying. And I noticed this. If a few people will stand up for themselves, their rights, it really does help. Because when I go to Walmart, when I go to the store, and I notice, I lock eyes with people, they see me, I'm not wearing a mask, and they immediately take theirs off. It's like a sigh of relief, like, oh, thank God, there's one other person. I can feel a little more comfortable in what I'm doing. And also, thankfully, around here, we live in the country, a lot of the store shops, the cashiers and, whatnot, they're not even wearing them. They're not that concerned. And if you're thinking, what is the big deal? Why not just go along to get along like everyone else is doing? It'll make your life a lot easier. You won't have people stopping you, asking you why you're not wearing the mask, which, by the way, I keep one in my purse or my pocket just to walk through the door in case I'm stopped. And they ask, do you have a mask? And I pull it and say yes, and I keep walking. And then I put it right back in my pocket or my bag. And then if I'm stopped again, I talk about, breathing issues and medical issues, and how children do not have to wear a mask. So, if you're wondering why can't we just go along to get along? Well, there's so many reasons. I mean, first of all, it doesn't work. But even if it did, and it weren't even more harmful than it is protective, these are our freedoms. You cannot tell people what to do with their body. I'm sorry. I'm very, very protective of our freedom. Okay? So bodily autonomy is very important to me. Also, I can foresee what will come of this, because what they wanted to do was keep, everything shut down, which would have had a more fearful effect on the psyche of the masses. But the masks are doing a good enough job so far. Like, it keeps people in that suspended state of fear. It's reminding them, the people that don't want to look at the actual science, that don't want to think for themselves, it's reminding them, be very afraid. This is worse than the flu. This is where you could get it. Anyone could get it and just drop dead. That's how bad this is. We can't possibly understand our bodies well enough, or, infectious disease, contagions, whatever. Just be afraid. And it works very, very well. And because if they told us to, we don't have to wear masks if you don't want to, but just be mindful of this, be mindful not to be in crowds and wash your hand, people, it wouldn't have the same effect. They wouldn't be as afraid. They would go on with their lives and sort of forget about it like they do in flu season. So what's going to happen is, when they do get this vaccine out, and they will, come on the news, and everybody will be eagerly watching and waiting to know what the truth is, and they will say the WHO and the CDC checked it out. It's safe, y'all. It's effective too. Look, we have this study here. It was like a few months. we studied these participants, and yeah, like half of them dropped dead, but that was pre-existing. Actually, they won't even tell you about that. They'll just tell you it's all good. You'd have to go in and read the study yourself, okay? But they have ways around all of this. They have ways to make it turn out the way they want, if they want it to, right? So that's what they're going to do. They're going to say it's safe, it's effective. Everyone needs to get this if we want to go back to some sort of normalcy. And so all of the people that have been out in public, scornfully looking at those who aren't wearing masks and just playing along and thinking they're doing the right thing, they are so responsible. They are going to be the new sort of policing. They will be policing those who won't comply this time around. So they're going to be demanding everyone get these shots. And if you don't want to, then you are an evil person. They may even have like a system or a way that they could check and make sure you have had it to go out into, shops and public places and crowds. So basically, if you're not going to stand up for your freedoms, well, you'll lose them. And this means standing up for freedom, even when people are using those freedoms to do things you don't agree with. That's the whole point. You're not going to agree with everybody on everything. That's why our freedom is so important. Okay? Don't be fooled by the argument where they say, oh, well, it's not just about you. This is threatening other people's lives. So that's why you don't get this freedom. Because if you allow that, even if it were true, and it's not, but if you allow that, well, the same argument can be used with the vaccine. Same argument. And if you're pro-vaccine and you're like, okay, I'm fine with that too. Well, the same argument can be used with abortion. And maybe that's an extreme example, but my point is, this can, like, where does it end? This can be extended as far as you want to take it. They can tell you what you should be feeding your child, because you're damaging other people's lives, right? If you're feeding your child junk, you're affecting other people's lives. So why not come in and make laws, around that? So we can go on with examples all day, but the bottom line is, where does it end? Tim Sheef, thank you. You are my hero. Everyone go check out his video. Go check him out explaining this. He's got some cool stories surrounding this. And yeah, y'all have a great day. And and when he passed the cops, I thought this was funny. They just looked at him and said, at least you're wearing a mask. And it's not illegal there in London to be nude, which he wasn't technically all the way nude, but that's why he's good to go. So yeah, y'all be safe.
It's a religion at this point. It's a really weird, really sad religion.